Hey, it's Wayne Purnell, and I am doing live with James Williams, who's on a screen behind me. James, look up so they know it's really you. There we go. Okay, so I've got this screen going. I'm gonna adjust the size of this real quick. Cool. So what's going to happen is James and I are doing this thing that we always do. Now, on the screen in front of me is where I'm talking with James. I will probably step out of shot for this Facebook Live. You can see me on the, I almost picked James's nose. Look at that. You can see me on the screen in the monitor, right? That's how you'll know. So I'm in my studio. James is in London, England. So it's 3:15 his time. And so here's what's going to happen is James and I do this thing called, your wife named it that, right? Socially ambitious chatterboxes. She named you that, and then we've sort of adapted it and adopted it. So James and I have these topics that we take on, and he does it live as a Zoom call. I figured I would invite my friends and family to watch it live on Facebook. And here you are. So thanks for being here. I'm going to step out of shot. You can see me up on the screen behind me. You see that right there? That's us. So that's where you'll follow this. And here I am sort of out of shot with James. So at any point, we're going live. You can still see me, right?
We are live. We've been live for a couple of minutes. Hey, everybody.
We've been live while I've been setting up my Facebook Live. That's great. Oh, thank you. That's awesome. Yay me.
So we are live, and that's awesome, and we are live on both people's pages. We've been away for a few weeks. Wayne's been busy doing stuff, and I've been busy launching things, and it's been a fantastic couple of months, but it's time to jump back in. And we were chatting before this call about what it is we were going to talk about, and something that's really, really interesting that comes up a lot in the online course or development space is this idea that there's a lot of us that are learning new things, that are trying to develop ourselves and apply all that knowledge to our businesses and our lives. We hear a lot of the time from our clients and from people that we know that they've read this book and they've done this course and this other course, yet sometimes things just aren't working. Sometimes things aren't moving forward. And so this call is going to be all about the fact that knowledge is just knowledge unless it's integrated, unless you apply that knowledge.
You have to do something with it. Absolutely.
Do something with it, right? It's no good just having a bunch of knowledge in your head if you're not actually doing anything with it. So that's what this is all about. We want to get everyone excited by what it feels like to actually apply the knowledge and start to see something happen, which is such an exciting feeling. And when things start to happen, it makes you want to keep going, right? So Wayne, tell me straight away, what's your thoughts on that? Say in your personal life, what is it that has been the biggest lesson in terms of integration? Where have you in the past spotted something that has kept going in as knowledge, but you realize you weren't integrating it, and when you did, it just made the biggest difference?
See, I think so many of us, you and I were talking before we went live, so many of us became knowledge junkies, or one more thing we could, if only we learned that one more thing, if only we learned that one more thing. I'm not ready yet. The truth is, you're ready, and so I think what made the biggest difference was actually, boom, just taking that step in, writing that first book, or writing that first blog, or doing that first live, or whatever it is, just taking action, right? So we're calling this knowledge is just knowledge unless there's integration or application. It's really knowledge plus what is results, and it's really about action, right? So you have this stuff. And for me, I go to this place now when I coach my clients. It's sort of like I go to this indignant place. How dare you, right? How dare you have such unique individual knowledge as you and choose to hold that in, right? So because the world needs you, right? The world needs you. Each of us. James, you've got your audience. I've got my audience. As the dynamic leader brand, I'll do this. Ta-da, right? So as the Dynamic Leader brand, each of us has our unique set of things that we offer, right? So I think it's about take that step, take what's in you, don't be selfish, put it out there. What about you? Like, what made the difference for you as you took that step, as you actually what was your first step, and what made you go, oh, I should have been doing this all along?
Yeah, I had this conversation with the call that I did for some of the amazing ladies in our coaching program yesterday, and I've always been a massive fan of personal development and been reading a lot of awesome books of personal development. Oh, look, the phone's going live, Facebook Live. This is what happens, see people. It's live.
I have a phone in my room too. It hasn't gone, so that's great.
And so while I was at my last career, and I was getting to the point where I realized, okay, something needs to change. And I'm reading my personal development books, and I'm saying, how can I become fitter? How can I really figure out what it is that I want to do? And so I was reading up, and I started journaling, and I started, getting fitter, and I started thinking about what I was eating. But like anything, at that time, I was doing it all within this bubble, and I kept kind of going back to default setting again of, but what if it's not going to work? Or who do I think I am? Do I really, is this really going to work? And so the honest answer is that when things got hard, I defaulted back to just the way I used to do things, right? Slowed it all back down again. So the time that it changed for me personally, the time that the integration actually equaled results was when I took a leap. Yeah. When I got to that place of being really uncomfortable, I kept going. So for me, the biggest leap was when I handed my notice in my last career, because I didn't know what was going to happen. And then suddenly it's not only that feeling of, wow, I've now got a path ahead of me that I'm in control of, but also there's a little bit of, and I said this last night, now suddenly fear wasn't something that was holding me back. It was just a little bit of an accountability partner. It was like, hey, you gotta make it work now, right? Because you've taken big action. So at that point, I developed a new relationship with fear, because it was something that was alongside me, and it was just poking me enough to say, we've got to make this work, because you've just done something big, and there's no going back, because you're way too proud to go back, right? And with that kind of mentality, I got quite excited by that. I remember when I handed my notice in, I was quite excited. I was like, now suddenly it's down to me, and for me, that gave me a real buzz.
Yeah.
And then applying that to, say, fitness, applying that to a lot of the mindset work that I wasn't doing, integrating gratitude and journaling and goal setting into my daily, weekly routines, started bearing fruit, because I was stepping outside of being comfortable.
And you had the knowledge of, I should be journaling, I should be, right? And it's when you start applying, that's where it's application and integration, right? You actually take action on something. It's interesting, because one of the things you said was, basically, you didn't say it this way, but I took this leap of faith, right? What you said was, I didn't know what was going to happen, right? How many times do we take action steps where we have every single detail lined up? And when we think we have every single detail lined up, it never works that way, right? So knowing essentially where you're headed, and knowing the major pieces that need to be in place to get there, understand that the path is always something like
it
this.
Evolves, right?
Yeah.
I think it's really important to have an idea of where you want to go. I mean, the way I like to describe it, like in my head, right, because I'm a very visual person, I kind of think about it, I've got these three major rooms, right, in my mind. I've got my past habitual library, which is everything I've ever seen and done and heard and all my perspective. And I've got my future creative workshop, where I go to sort of really vision and get excited about the future. As long as I'm in the present room, making things happen, looking in the future and popping into that little future creative workshop every now and then, just to sort of say, is that still what I want? Is that exciting?
Yeah.
And then I'll come back and I work, and then I keep popping back.
You need to.
Room, and I might detour.
So,
because what's exciting to me this month I might want to go bigger next month. So
it's exactly
evolution.
It's exactly right.
Towards a big goal. And you said something earlier which was spot on. That things, if we're making decisions based on our current realities, based on what we think we can achieve, we're never going to go anywhere, right? As human beings, if humans only ever did what they could guarantee success in, we wouldn't be very far.
No, exactly.
I know Brendan always says the phrase, doesn't he? We went to the moon, right?
Yeah.
We went to the moon.
Yeah.
And when they planned to go to the moon, they didn't know really how to do it. We need something powerful that's going to make us go up.
They accepted a challenge, right? Challenge accepted,
massive
right?
challenge. So one perspective that I love to share on this is, and I think you touched on it. When we're kids, it's something we can learn from. When we're young and we don't move forward based on what we think we can do. Like when you see the other kids riding bikes and you're a really small little kid and you want to ride a bike, you don't go, should I ride a bike? I don't think I can do it, so I'm not going to try.
Right.
You just do it, right? And then even when you fall off, you cry, and then you stand back up and you try again.
Well, and you have, like, the bike riding thing, you have somebody there to help you. Nobody gets on a bike alone, right? It's because it's, like, there are success clues along the way, right? The other thing, and you know this, and my audience certainly knows this, that there's this really important thing that happens, right? I think it's really important to stay curious, right? The curiosity is what leads you, right? So Curious George, he's one of the first things I see when I wake up. He makes me smile, and he reminds me, stay curious. What's in this day? Now, two other things, James, because this is really interesting. And I love how we do this. None of this is scripted, so I love that it's just like you and I are doing this. Here's the thing. You said something about, keeping that future, right? Keeping that, checking in on the future. One of the things that I taught my kids, because homework was so frustrating and, I think I'll just watch TV. And so one of the challenges that I put in front of my kids was, okay, do that. Like, there are consequences to anything you do. So is what you're doing, this is the sentence, and for the audience, if you wanted to write this down, this may be helpful to you, is what I'm doing right now getting me closer to or further from my goal? Is what I'm doing right now getting me closer to or further from my goal? And so it's like, well, I've got to study one more book, or I've got to take one more online course, or I've got to learn from this person and this person and this person. And it's like, well, really check back in with yourself. What's your goal? The other thing is, here we are, like you said, you check in on your future, which is awesome. Because, the work that I do with leaders, and I think you do similar work with people on this path, is that there is this success path, right? That we're on this path of success. And we aim for this success plateau, or this landing place of, when I get there, that's success. The thing is that when we get there, it very often doesn't feel very successful. And why is that? It's because the journey changes us. I'm not the same person I was 10 years ago, or 5 years ago, or 2 years ago, or yesterday. I'm not. I know I've grown. I know I've changed. And so I am always assessing my success and going, what's next? And for me, I'll just say one more thing, and I'll turn it back to you, which is, I said this on stage at the Ritz just a couple of days ago, actually, and it was, I live my life happily dissatisfied. So if I stopped right now, I could look around in my life and go, yes, I'm happy. I'm really happy. And I know there's more. And I ache for that more. I ache to be more. I ache to have more. But more important, I ache to serve more, right? So it's really this place of, I'm happy. And I'm dissatisfied because I want that next level of more. And I know that most people do too. Most people want that more, which is fabulous, because that is the work that you and I do, is break people through to their next level of more, whatever that is, right? That's where people get stuck.
Yeah, it's about staying hungry, right? And it's that's such an awesome perspective, because to be satisfied with where you're at, but excited by the fact that there is more.
Yeah.
I talked about this the other day, that quite a lot of people, by not being in the present, they're so focused on what they haven't achieved yet. They have this mentality that's, you know, oh, I'll do that when I get there.
Right, I'll do that when I get there.
This magical land called there, where you know, everything's perfect and you know, money's like floating around and and everything's wonderful. And you know what? I'm kind of excited by the fact that there doesn't exist, because if we get there, where do we go next? Right? That's pretty boring then. I mean, I know for one that I'm at my most pumped up and excited when I've just achieved something that I genuinely went into not knowing if I could do.
That's so great.
Knowing that there doesn't exist, that there's always somewhere to go, it's kind of exciting, and it takes the pressure off.
Totally does.
If you don't worry about getting there, then you're just achieving, you know? But then that brings us back down to, okay, James, yeah, I've got to set a goal and figure out where I want to be, but I can't get these habits to stick, right? Because, so let's talk a bit about that. Let's talk about why some people can't get their routines, their habits, you know, to stick, to actually help. You know, some people might say, oh, you know, I'm just not feeling very motivated at the moment.
Yeah. Yeah, so, you know, a couple of things. First of all, if my goal was to write a book, right? So, and this is the shameless plug. So, and I'll put it over your face on the screen behind me. There we go. So, you know, my first book, Choosing Your Power, it was like, that's awesome. Now I'm an author, and I could stop. But the whole idea of, now I know how to do it, makes me want to keep going, right? And that's where, you know, number 2, The Winning Way, and number 3, the one I'm very happy about. That one's is kind of cool. So the significance factor, put these down. It's like, okay, so I know how to do it. And you talk about the there, right? So I got there, I got to be the author, yay. Now what, right? And there are enough people in the world that go, there, oh no, they're there, you don't have to do any more. And the truth is, those are the people that are just content. Those are the people that just are satisfied and will always be dissatisfied at a certain level and not even happy about it, right? So what makes habits stick? That was the question, and that is understanding what you're doing it for. Right? Getting into, there's 2 things at play. One is the actual physical action of, I get up, I work out, or I get up, I go to the fridge, I look at what's there. There's still, like, I look at food, like the candy here, you know, we have Halloween in the States, right? So there's this big thing of little kids, we train them to be beggars for sugar that they don't need, right? So most people participate in that in some way or other, and there was this giant bowl of candy by the front door because we had 3 trick-or-treaters, and that meant that we had pounds of candy. And the good news is, it's a mindset thing. I walk by it and I go, that's not food, right? But that is a mindset. In the past, I would look at it and go, I could have 1 or 6, or and so it's really a matter of a couple of things. One is remembering the why. What are you really after? What are you really after? And going back to what I was training my kids on, which is what you're doing right now getting you closer to or further from your goal? What's my goal? Well, what's my why, right? So it's like, no, I don't, I was given, funny, I've got props all over the place, James. I was given this a while ago, right? It's a Snickers bar. Now, I haven't opened it because I think it's funnier in the package, right, than to actually ingest it. I think Troublemaker is a really funny thing. And I'm not out to sell Snickers. I'm out to say, I've had that bar for a while. And to me, it's about the package. It's not about, oh, I could just have some chocolate, right? So 1 is why. Well, remember what you're doing and what it's for. 2, practice and reward yourself for practice, even if it's just like, yay me, don't reward yourself with food unless that's You know, you've chosen something that's going to get you closer to versus further from your goal. And the third is, we used to think it was 21 days to set a new habit. And you know, the research shows 21 days is what it takes to establish a habit. It's the 66 days that it takes until that habit feels better to have and worse to not do. So like on the 67th day of waking up and you choose not to go for that morning run, you're gonna go, God, oh, there's something in my body. I need to get out there. I just feel like I need to go, right? So,
Integrate then.
Right, integrating, applying, integrating, and taking action, right? So, and it's not just action. We've heard this phrase before. It's consistent action. It's consistent action. So, what are you doing every day or most days, right? So, typically daily is how you're going to be able to set that pattern. To write a book, people ask me, like, what does it take to write a book? And for me, it's block time. I set between an hour and 2 hours a day. It's not like I have friends that take themselves off. Oh, I'm going to write a book. It's going to take me 2 weeks. I've rented a hotel or I've rented a cabin up in the woods and that's all I'm doing. For me, it's going to take me longer. But you know what? It's going to be consistent, right? So that's how I do my stuff. What about you? How do you integrate and apply?
Yeah. So very similar. And I think what's really important for me, and I think for most people, as you said, is understanding why. If someone's just told you, oh, James, you've really got to get up and stretch in the mornings, drink some water, do some exercise before you start your work, right? Someone said that to me as a fact, and I tried to do it, and I wasn't sticking to it. It would be because I hadn't really thought about why. To be motivated, I need a motive. I need a why. I need to be passionate about what I'm trying to create, right? And so for me, I need to be passionate about seeing the result. So that exact habit we're talking about, so the morning and evening routine, you know, I had to think about, okay, what am I going to get from this? And intellectually, I was told what I'd get from that, but I had to say, well, let's commit to doing it for a few weeks just to see for myself. So I have a strict morning routine. I make sure I get up. I don't look at my phone, touch any technology. You know, initially I get up and I stretch and I drink water and I wake up slowly and I get outside and I get some exercise.
Can I pause for a second? Because sure. I just, like, in terms of habits that are worth integrating, get up, do not look at your phone, do not touch technology. That is huge.
Huge.
Have water.
So I had to really think about why,
right?
What that does. And I tell you what, you know, the way I always describe it, from personal experience, this is what I experienced and why it became so important to me and why after 66 days it's integrated, is that when I wake up in the morning, my engine is like running pretty slow, right? It's not warmed up. And so if I decide to suddenly throw this bright light full of something that could potentially throw an email or a text my way that's going to cause a reaction, I'm asking an unprepared brain to suddenly deal with that, all that complex information. It's just going to be like, ugh. Right?
Yeah.
And so I found energetically, if I could start slowly and warm up, just like I could go to the gym. If I walked into the gym cold and tried to bench like a massive weight, I would hurt myself.
Yeah.
It's the same with your brain. So by getting up slowly and by just kind of like slowly warming up my brain, by hydrating myself, by stretching, getting myself physically and mentally at a really solid place, I found that I had more energy throughout the day.
Yes.
And then by reversing that procedure in the evening and winding down everything before I went to bed, I found that I had better night's sleep. So then tracking that over a couple of weeks, I was sleeping better, which meant I was more productive and more energetic during my days, which means I was getting more done, which means I was happier, which means I was progressing. So once I recognized that, my motivation had a motive. It had a why. It's like, do you want to sleep better? Yes. Do you want to be more energetic? Yes. Do you want to feel like you've got more time because you just kind of, you're in the flow? Yes. So now I've got the why.
Awesome.
I've got the motive, right? And so one thing I wrote down was my 3 R's, which kind of talk to what you talked about, Wayne, which is repetition, recognition, and reflection. So by positively engaging in repetition, and recognition is just recognizing, well, what's this doing? And reflection is going back and looking at the last few weeks, because there are going to be days where I'll get up in the morning and I might be in the middle of a launch, or might be in the middle of something really important in my life, and I might desperately want to look at my phone.
Yeah.
And I might do it. And then my head might want to explode. And then, you know, the day will go on and I'll have a terrible day, and I'll then reflect. I'll think, well, why did I have a day that I just had? Why did I have a stressful day? What's different about today than the last few weeks? I looked at my phone and tried to deal with problems while I was still half asleep.
Right.
Right. So repetition, recognition, and reflection, really important for me. And positively engaging in all of that is huge.
That's awesome.
I mean, I spoke to you before this call. Part of the research I did was from Psychology Today, was that really important to form a habit is not only repeating and focusing on that habit, but having a positive purpose for that habit. If you understand what it's going to do to benefit you, and you're thinking about that as much as or more than the habit itself, it's going to stick.
Right. And I would
you're just talking about, like you said, you're just talking about creating pathways, neural pathways in your brain. You're just rewriting the script so that, as you said, after 6 days, it's not going to feel good not to do it, because
exactly.
you've been doing it so often.
Yeah.
That if you don't do it, your brain's like, well, why aren't we doing that thing that we do?
Exactly.
So good.
Exactly. So yeah, the whole thing about practice, about repetition. I would go to benefit extension also. It's like, what does it do for me? What does it do for the people I serve? What does it do for my family? What does it do if I am doing this? If I am thinking faster, if I'm putting down my phone instead of looking at first thing, what does that do for my presence in the morning? You know, what does that do for my deliberate presence during the day? The other thing, James, is that when you wake up, you have been like more and more and more and more and more is being understood about sleep. Now, my dissertation was on sleep. That was, you know, my doctorate's in clinical psych, and a lot of people don't know that I did my dissertation on sleep. And so the whole idea is that sleep there's so many processes that happen that neuronal repair is going on as well, and that's part of why we need to dream, in fact. And so cutting that short for in any way can impede our ability to process. Now, when you first get up, you're coming out of a certain level of sleep that is a place, it's called the hypnagogic state, basically. It's a great place to input your like the things that you want to be working on. I'm powerful, I'm strong, I'm influential, I'm happy, I'm, you know, whatever. It's like, start to do that, right? So when I wake up, the first thing out of my mouth is thank you, right? I start in gratitude, I start with laughter, I start with curiosity, right? All that stuff. Like, it's just, if I can start with a smile, my day goes so much better than, oh my gosh, you know, look at who else needs me, look what I have to respond to. And you start your day in this alarm state, and it's like, and so it is. It's sort of like, you know, you've just started your car and you're about to floor it down the freeway. That's not good for anything, right? So to ease into it. So that's awesome. Now the piece about recognition, I love, what was the first R?
So we've got repetition, recognition, and reflection.
So repetition is what gets you there, right? Just do it, just do it, just do it. And again, I'll go back to the question, is what you're doing getting you closer to or further from your dreams, your goal, right? And then recognition is like, yes, I'm doing it. It's also sort of, to me, that R is like a, you know, verbal high five to yourself. It's like, I'm in this, and I've got this. And then reflection is partly, to me, when you say reflection, to me that means metrics. It's like, where am I on this path? But also, how do I feel? You know, we can look at the hard metrics, and we can look at the soft, like, I actually feel better about myself. like I have a direction, through repetition, actually feel better about myself. It's funny you have the 3 R's, I have the 3 C's. Would you like to hear them?
Go for it.
The 3 C's. So this is what I teach is the 3 C's. The first is clarity. It's like, how clear are you, one, about your values, what do you believe in, and 2, about living that way. Like, are you stepping in and stepping up into that place of certainty, that place of clarity about who you are. The second is communication. So who are you telling? How are you saying it? Who are you telling it to? Like, and especially for leaders, you know, I'm doing this thing, and when you lead yourself, it's the exact same thing. What is the communication you have with yourself? Okay, this is good for me. I'll just do. It's like, no, you know what? Okay, this is good for me, and even tonality to yourself matters. So the first is clarity. The second is communication, and the third, any guesses what it might be?
Curiosity, maybe?
Oh, very high five to you. Very nice. High five. All right. So curiosity, absolutely, is the third C. You've got to live your life in wonder, because when you're in curiosity, you can't be in judgment. There's no, that's not good enough, or this sucks, or whatever. It's like, I wonder what this will bring. I wonder what this next, you know, I've run 5 miles and this sucks, versus that's a judgment, versus I've run 5 miles and I wonder what 5 miles and 1 step will feel like, and 2 steps. You know, it's like, what's the next thing for you? So clarity, communication, curiosity. Those are my 3 C's.
Amazing. So how are we going to summarize this, Wayne?
Well, I think it's about action, right? I think that, you know, we started by talking about, you know, you and I both have pretty significant libraries, and, you know, I look around the room and I'm like, oh my gosh, not only do I have bookshelves, but I have boxes of books that are like, oh, I should do something with it. So it's like, so part of it is we have this knowledge, and those that have joined us on this journey for this socially ambitious Chatterbox session have knowledge. You have knowledge. If you're here with us, you have knowledge. And so really it's about, what are you going to do with it? Why does that matter? Like, what does it mean to you, and what does it mean to the people around you? And what is, I guess, a challenge would be, what's your next step? What's a big step you could take, but more important, what's a little step you could take, right? So that's where I would put it. What about you? How would you summarize it? How would you wrap this up?
I think you're absolutely spot on. And the point I was going to put across was, and it kind of goes towards you thinking about where to go next, right? That it's too easy to get comfortable.
Yes.
Rather than move on. And so one thing, and I steal it from Robin Sharma, who has this wonderful quote about practice, and that is that the quality of your practice defines the caliber of your performance.
Right.
So if you feel like there's more to go, if you feel like your performance could be better in whatever it is you want to do, if you feel like you can sleep better, if you feel like you could be fitter, or you feel like you could have better relationships, it's down to the quality of your practice in those things.
We used to say, you know, practice makes perfect, but if you're practicing badly, like, you know, if all of that is just a bunch of noise, then you've got perfect noise, right?
Exactly.
So perfect practice makes perfect, and perfecting your practice makes perfect, right? I think that's where I'd take. I just made that up. Maybe I should write that down. Perfecting your practice.
Do you know what? I'm gonna have to challenge you there, Wayne, because I don't believe perfect exists.
Well, good. See, I don't either. Actually, I have a different level of perfection. I believe that, and I'm pulling out another prop. So in my first book, I talk about perfection. I'm very proud of this, because I put a lot of early thinking into this, and it covers so much. Choosing your power. So in that book, I talk about the perfect flaw, right? That we are perfect because of our flaws. And so really to acknowledge that and accept that. That perfection is about putting out what you've got now and then creating the next level of now and the next iteration of now, right? You are perfect currently. So I believe perfection does exist now.
Love it.
Okay.
Amazing. And with that, yeah, I think we're gonna summarize the day. So we're talking about integration and application of habits, and so let's just figure out what you want to do to move forward. What is it you're trying to integrate and trying to move forward, but it's not sticking? Just think about why it's important to you. Quite often, self-doubt comes out. Can I really do this? So let's replace doubt with faith, replace delay with action, and replace judgment with understanding, right? And just think about your motive for motivation and move forward. And remember the 3 C's and the 3 R's.
Perfect.
So repetition, recognition, reflection. And my dad is actually watching, and he wanted to add the last R, which is results.
Very nice. Good.
And then the 3 C's from Dr. Wayne Pennell.
Yes, the first C is clarity, like be really clear about who you are and where you're headed. The second C is communicate that. How are you communicating either to your team or your family? More important, to yourself. And the third C is, my friend Curious George would say, curiosity, right? So it's stay curious, right?
Awesome. Well, it's been awesome chatting to you, Wayne, once again.
Yeah.
I want to say a little hi to people that have been watching. So both my mum and my dad have been watching us. So saying hi to Jill and Roger for watching and supporting. And we've got, who else have we got on here? We've got Kerry that jumped in, said hi.
I've got Kimberly Elaine. I've got...
Carly's been on here, and Betsy has been on here, and Kirsty. So I'll say hi to all you guys for joining.
Good. I've got Kimberly. I've got Guy. People from... I've got an international audience here too, so thank you for joining. That's awesome. Very nice. Very nice.
Until next time, guys, have a wonderful day, and we'll speak to you again soon.
So glad you're here. Always a pleasure, James. Thank you.